Several accounts tell of the last Indian raid. Old-timers call it the Point of Timbers fight. Now, by my estimation, a more fitting epithet would be the Ravine Slaughter. It was a balmy day in early September 1869. 7 Caddo Indians had begun a series of raids throughout the Strouds Creek and Squaw Creek settlements near present-day Toller. They had stolen about 60 of the best horses in the area. This hadn't been the first time this had occurred. Uncle Billy Powell, who had been well respected by the Indians, received news of the raids and decided it was time to put a stop to these marauding parties. He rounded up about a dozen men to begin their search. Their original intent was only to rescue their horses. Uncle Billy knew the ways of the red man. He knew it was their practice to take horses to be sold at the reservation to the north. He dispatched 2 young boys mounted on their fastest horses to settlements in and around Thorpe Spring to inform others of their plan to waylay the horse thieves. As night began to fall, the trap was laid. One young man was perched as a lookout high in a large oak tree. The night sky was clear, save for the full moon which lit up the surrounding landscape. Eyes and ears strained to sense any evidence of the approaching crowd of horses and their thieves. Every distant sound sent tremors up men's spines. As the morning star appeared on the horizon, the distant sound of horse hooves were heard. It soon became apparent that some of the men from other settlements had arrived. They met in consultation, then each took his position. As the sun rose over the eastern treetops, the watchman sounded the alarm. As the Indians approached, shots rang out. The surprised Indians took no time in backtracking and racing as fast as their steeds would carry them, taking cover among the stolen horses. Bows in hand, they sent a constant barrage of arrows back toward the white man, but the settlers had managed to cut off their escape. With their horses shot out from underneath them, the Indians ran for shelter in the banks of a Star Hollow tributary. They took up a well-defensive position underneath an embankment, covered by brush and a fallen log from a large cottonwood tree. Concealed on every side, the settlers could not make an approach without the risk of taking on a well-flung arrow. The Indians kept the settlers at bay throughout most of the day. By late afternoon, the sweltering sun gave way to thunderclouds, resulting in a vigorous downpour. Before long, the water in the ravine began to rise, forcing the Indians to abandon their cover. In time, each Indian fell to the retribution of the settlers. Many of the men never intended for the Indians to be killed since they had not harmed anyone in their raids. Others swore vengeance in reprisal for family members and friends who had been killed by the red man. And it must be noted that these 7 Caddo, while stealing horses was a regular practice, most likely were not comprised of the same murderous lot which had done so much scalping throughout the county. All in all, some 75 settlers took part in the ordeal, the names of whom turn up in more meritorious chronicles of our county's history. Now, before you bequeath judgment upon these men, you would do well to remember that they were typical of the many rough and rugged sort who conquered and tamed the wild frontier. Today, the area known as the Point of Timbers fight and the ravine where these 7 Caddo Indians met their demise is just north of the Star Hollow Lake, adjacent to the Star Hollow Golf Course.